Well, hello, fellow traveler. Come on in, sit for a spell. We're going to dive into grokking the Centaurian energy signature so we can really grok that archetype of the archer and master this hunt that's underway. We know we got Caradwin hot on our tail this lunar cycle that got kicked off with the Sagittarian new moon yesterday. We're currently in its light building phase. We're out of the dark moon and we're edging up to winter solstice as of tomorrow. So the greatest time of darkness right before the light breaks on through. So we're in quite an interesting point in the turning of the wheel where there's a major shift in the energy and the light building, life-giving forces are about to really surge forward. And they're coming in on the swell of that grand water trine. So it's really quite a cool energy. And we're going to look at it through the lens collectively of the decanates of Sagittarius, which each house different transits during their season, and these energies will be in play up until that Cancerian full moon that comes in on January 3rd with that energy signature of the Empress. So the Empress is stirring, the Empress is wanting to rise, and I have to tell you, I had a very interesting experience tonight when I went on a walk. It's pretty cold out there, but I like the crisp air. Yeah, I like the crisp air. It gives clarity, makes you really alert. I like how being out in the cold does make you feel very present, okay? And just really enjoying the evening, nice clear skies, and doing a little stargazing and just feeling the energy of the season. Feeling the spirit of winter, getting in touch with it. I've been doing a lot of work with the clay, and that does invoke that quality of the crone. In fact, winter season really embodies the energy of the crone or the sage, the wise old wizard, and really sort of sinking into the bones of your wisdom and your knowledge for a place of inner nourishment, self-reflection. But it also comes through in that very keen, sharp perceptiveness too. And I can feel that energy, that spirit there when I'm out and about in the elements. And so I was just tuning into the energy because I knew I wanted to drop in for this with you all tonight. And when I made my way back home with my fetch, I found a ladybug. And the ladybug was frozen because we've been dealing with snow out here. So I just thought it was so interesting. Ladybug medicine is all about wishes, wish fulfillment. It's also about invoking a little of that spirit of wonder, really being able to connect with a sense of lightheartedness and playfulness and a little bit of that spirit that we had when we were in our youth. The way that we were able to imagine and bring things into reality. We still have that ability. We just sort of disconnect from it as adults because we feel, oh, it's a childish thing. Well, some have, okay? Not all of us. I'm still very much in touch with it myself. In fact, I find that that is the most potent magic when it's birthed from that place of just playfulness, lightheartedness, and just a little bit of fun, you know? And I thought it was interesting just in relation to the message that came in with the new moon download about it's time to rest. There's nothing really to strive for. You already have what you really desire. Whether you recognize it or not, you already have it. It's already with you. It hasn't taken on the physical form yet, but it's there. And you don't need to rush because you already have it. There's nothing to try to obtain. And they say that however many dots are on the ladybug or how many wishes will be fulfilled. And so I went ahead and I counted the dots, and wouldn't you know, there were 20. Judgment, Sagittarian energy. I thought, okay, this is wild. All right, 20. Sagittarian energy. And it reinforces this message about giving ourselves this space, this time of rest, of reprieve, of turning within and just trusting what we know inwardly. And just allowing ourselves to be held by that. Finding comfort and sustenance in that. It's that high priestess allowing herself to rest and integrate all the wisdom that was gained from diving deep into the underworld of Pluto and preparing to stir. Because when we look at that Cancerian energy coming in for that full moon, and it is a full wolf moon, so we got the Pathfinder on the scene. And we know that wolf on the medicine wheel is associated with Pisces, Pisces in the North Node. And well, we are moving through quite Neptunian territory right now, and Jupiterian territory as well. And both of those planets are factoring strongly in the astrology that's rolling out right now, and will be with us for quite some time to come, really carrying us forward into the energy of the Ring of Fire in Aquarius on February 17th. So I thought, this is really wild. It's speaking of the renewal energy, the rebirth energy, and that this renewal is already secured. So just rest in it. It was like such a beautiful confirmation that you already hold it. You see, because normally in ladybug lore, you have to make all of your wishes while the ladybug's still in your hand, because if you allow it to fly away, well, the wishes fly away with it, you know? You lose a little bit of that magic. So it takes a certain touch. And I thought that was really quite an interesting connecting point with the Stone of Destiny. It's the same thing. It's not something that you hold. It's not something that you retrieve through force. It's through being in this state of inner assurance. It's through really being in that place of sovereignty. It doesn't take force to pull the sword from the stone. It's a gentle hand that does the trick. And so I just thought it was like such a beautiful weaving of sort of symbolism coming through as a confirmation here for that energy that already came in with the new moon download. But I know that what's happening is that birthway, the waterway, you could say, is really going to start to open up with that full moon that comes in Cancer, because we currently have Jupiter, Sagittarian, and Piscean ruler in Cancer. And it has been going retrograde, going over some old ground. And it's doing that not only to review, so we can also understand where certain wishes were better released because of what they're able to transform into being that could have never been possible at that time. We wouldn't have been able to receive the full potential of the wish. That's how it's kind of coming through. And I thought it was just a really beautiful message and beautiful symbolism coming through there. So 20 wishes, man. 20 wishes that bring a brand new beginning. 20 brand new things showing up on your path. You don't need 20/20 vision to secure it. You already got it. It's just about allowing it to sort of rest there. You also don't need to hold on to it tightly, because it's something that is energetically encoded within you. It's like imprinted in your soul's directive. I just thought it was really cool. So I brought the ladybug in out of the cold, and I was feeling a sense of real assurance with that, because that ladybug's not going to fly away anywhere. It's definitely held in place during the cold of winter. I really got that message from that. And that might be coming through as a little symbolism for you, okay? for all of you, because this is a collective read. We're diving into the energy collectively, but certainly if you are a Sagittarius Sun native, you'll really want to tune in to what comes in for your decanates, so you understand where you're being impacted. There's some long-term transits going down in the first decanate of Sagittarius, and it is the first decanate of Sagittarius that is really ushering in this energy, but it's energy that's playing out through all the decanates. Most of the major transit activity, though, has been impacting predominantly the first decanate and then the third decanate. And the second decanate has just kind of been holding space for the building of the energy, you could say, okay? And that's enough. You know, sometimes just holding space for the energy is enough, and it's big energy. So for those of you that are Sagittarian Sun natives and you're not sure what decanate you were born in, I'm going to go ahead and give you the rundown now so you know what decanate to really like kind of clue into as I'm bringing in the transits in relation to that and how it's affecting the overall collective energy. The first decanate of Sagittarius is November 22nd to December 1st. It is the originator energy of the Sagittarian archetype. It is what you would consider the maiden or the lad energy. The second decanate of Sagittarius begins December 2nd and goes to December 11th. It is the mother or father energy signature. And then the third decanate of Sagittarius runs December 12th through the 21st. So I think that's kind of interesting, 12th through the 21st, just in relation to this, because the 21st is like it brings the world, and the 21st is winter solstice, and that is the darkest point, and then it gives way to the light. And that's something I never recognized about the third decanate of Sagittarius before. So wow, I think I'm going to clue in around winter solstice more often in the future in relation to this. I'm really enjoying bringing the decanate piece in because it takes the astrology to a much deeper level, and it totally applies for the collective, because since it's influencing those decanates, we're all moving through those energies during the season of that zodiac. So it's pretty cool. But that energy signature of the hangman to the world, the fix does eventually move. It does bring about that victory. It does bring about a road opening. And we embrace a new journey, a new adventure, the adventure of the Fool, okay? And so for all the decanates in play, what is really coloring this landscape, just rest a little bit, okay? The news, the Great Awakening news has not come in yet, 13:11 on the clock. Let some things come to an end before the balance starts to really take root, and you see how it plays out here. Okay, this is Sagittarian energy, so you're not ready. You're not ready yet to issue a message, okay? And this could be a message in relation to matters of the heart, because I was just about to go into the planets that are really influencing this territory we're moving through, and Venus is at the forefront. Venus is in Sagittarius. It entered on November 30th, and it's going to be hanging out there until Christmas Eve on the 24th. And the theme of Venus in Sagittarius is love is an outlaw, okay? It is love that demands that it has free reign, to be free of reins, to not be bridled, to be able to move just into its greatest, it's coming through as its greatest motion. Its greatest motion. Yeah, it is. It's like a feeling. It's a ride itself. That's what this kind of love is. It is the swell that kind of like carries you forward here. It's a really kind of cool energy, but it's also like the freedom to be. The freedom to be who you are. Total acceptance. The freedom to be who you are. And to let yourself have that expression with without it needing to be watered down or contained or be any other way than how it is right now. And I thought that was pretty cool. And there's also something here about maybe breaking some rules in relation to matters of the heart. This is also when matters of the heart can take on more of an adventurous sort of tone. It becomes more about the journey of love itself rather than the acquisition of love. In fact, the acquisition of love is sort of contradictory because it's not really something you can ever hold on to, because the very nature of love is free. It's free. It's free range. You know, it's like a wild Mustang, just with a free open field to just run and experience that exhilaration. You know, that's the spirit. That's the energy. Not that it doesn't come with its challenges, with the transits going down, but at its core, when we're working with the energy in its most pure state, that's what it's about. It's about, I love you for free. I don't require that you love me back. And that's not meant as a distortion in any way. It's not implying being a doormat, quite the opposite. It's like, I love you because that's just the nature of who I am, and that's the nature of what I feel. But I don't require love in return. This isn't some kind of transaction. This is just a state of being. It's an openness. And I allow you to be who you are. And I'm going to allow me to be who I am. And I want you to have that expression and to experience the fulfillment of what your will sets in motion. And I want the same for myself. It's this kind of like spirit coming into relationships, but also in relation to endings and letting things go, not holding on. And there can be a time when you're in a relationship and you're experiencing challenges where it's not easy. It's not easy, but you still kind of tough it out. Not because of force, but because if you're really honest with yourself, you know that there's growth happening there, even though it's difficult, even though it causes you to bump up against a lot of stuff that you normally don't like looking at. You know that this is cathartic. I am growing here. And there is something I'm learning here. This is when this energy is really coming to the forefront. Remember, this territory, this lunar cycle brings a lot of spiritual awakening. So it's when the energy of love itself, in being granted that freedom and in resolving the riddle of the reins, we learn how to go for the ride, but completely give over to it without really needing to like prod it or sort of feel like we have to direct it. We can just open ourselves up to the motion of it and see where it carries us. Okay, it's a real cool energy. We also have Mercury has very much been at the forefront too. Oh, look at that. The Lovers, the choice. And yes, Gemini energy, which is Sagittarian's descendant energy there. So if you're a Sagittarius rising, you are really feeling this too. It is about making a choice. And for many of you, there have been choices to make in love. It's taken a lot of strength. It's taken a lot of looking into the belly of the beast, looking at those things that you were afraid to look at in the past, and also really having that success and rising above what were those limitations, those fears, those places that caused constriction, that didn't allow the heart to open in the past either. And we see the Empress is balancing it out. And again, how? Very gently, right? Not through force. So there's a key here. It is coming in pretty strongly. The other planetary energy that's very much at the forefront in its expression in Sagittarius through the Decans, this lunar cycle, is Mercury. And there's a lot going down in relation to that. Mercury has been retrograde in Sagittarius from November 9th through November 18th. Mercury actually entered Sagittarius on October 29th, And it will be retrograding back into Scorpio. Well, it already did, actually. So we're getting a little retrospective on the retrograde, but because of this energy, it is looping back around right now. So what you were working through back there, okay, back during that time, November 9th to November 18th, also, not only that, but really looking at the tail end of October, the closing of the October cycle as well, which was the full turning of the wheel and the opening of the new cycle. There was a point of reflection there, but you really started to get involved in the process of working through whatever you were working through at the close of October and the start of the new turning of the wheel that came with the 31st of October. During that retro cycle, okay? You were really getting into the thick of it. November 9th through November 18th, you were really looking at where hopes had been dashed, where you were questioning some of your beliefs, where you were challenging your perspective of situations, where you were feeling really held back. You were doing a lot of work in relation to this and really grappling with it, but not quite at the place of resolution or solutions. That retrograde energy, once it went back into Scorpio, there was time for us to sort of integrate those experiences and sort of put into motion what we arrived at there, where we needed to do the alchemy work. And so we started to dive more deeply into the mucky stuff, you know. And as we did that, you know, it's been sort of like another dive in, just as we thought, oh, I'm really getting out of this energy. But no, you know, Scorpio said not quite yet. You know, we're still in a process of transformation, and that's a little clue about how we transform. You know, you got to like allow yourself to ebb and flow. You can't just stay submerged the whole time. There's times when you do have to surface, you know, and so you got a little opportunity to surface there and put into motion what you needed to work on, what you learned needed to be cleaned up there. We will have Mercury returning into Sagittarius. Actually, it did return into Sagittarius on December 11th. And it's going to stay there until January 1st, okay? So we got Mercury hanging out in Sag right now, which means the energy is a little bit more uplifted. The energy wants to be more outwardly expressed. This is when you are in a position where what you were working through in the retrograde cycle that wasn't resolved, now you can really bring it on home. Like you can follow through with that. You can wrap up what needs to be finalized that was left unfinished with the retrograde cycle. So you might want to review, you know, do a little review around what got set kind of on the back burner and wasn't able to be brought through to completion because there were certain elements missing or there's certain aspects that you didn't understand. See, we've been going through this initiatory process through the gateway of the moon. And there's been a lot that has been concealed. There's been a lot that's been hidden. We continue to be in this initiatory process that we're being carried through in the waterway by that grand water trine. Okay, so we're in this place of really trying to lean into more of our intuition as far as what direction we should head in as well. We can't necessarily see where the light source is going to come from yet because we're still at the darkest point. So we're waiting. We're waiting to have that moment of discernment to really determine what is the work that remains to be done to really drive something home so it can come to completion where it was left unfinished. And there's certain details that do need to come to light. There's certain elements that are still somewhat concealed, but the revealing will come through in this lunar cycle. So still dealing with some unknown elements here. And this is where the work is to be done. You see, it's kicked off. So we're initiating right now into this cycle of really aligning with the Pathfinder medicine, where we do find our path of cultivation, the path that we're going to be investing in. We step through that gateway like the Fool, and the new journey begins on that January 3rd full moon in Cancer. That's going to bring the blessings of the journey itself, okay? So this is really energy that is going to strongly impact all of the decans here. It's also some energy that's going to bring some interesting things into the mix, and that's because of what's going on with Uranus in relation to the decans of Sagittarius, especially the first decan of Sagittarius that has quite a long-term run. Went from October through December 2025 of this year, through the close of the year, of Mercury being in opposition to Uranus. And since you got Mercury in your sign, this is when a lot of themes are going to introduce themselves onto the path. So Sagittarians, you're feeling this very strongly, but the collective as a whole will be feeling this because we're all moving through this energy expression. This is when there's going to be plot twists. This is when the rune Dagas is activated. It is that moment right before the breakthrough, when it's darkest before the dawn. It's at the point when the dawn is just about to come through, when the butterfly breaks out of the chrysalis state and gets its wings and takes flight for the ride of its life. Because we know when it comes to butterflies, their lifespan is rather brief. It's like a flicker in time, but oh, what a ride. And I really do feel like that's a little bit of this spirit that's coming through in relation to this sort of shake-up energy, this awakening energy, this lightning bolt out of the blue, Uranian energy. It really is there to remind us of that this is quite a ride. You got the ticket, go for the ride it out for all it's worth, because this itself, the opportunity to have this experience, is a gift. And it's real easy when we're dealing with our everyday human problems and concerns to lose sight of that. But there's experiences that are going down that are reminding us of just how special the gift of life is, and how we shouldn't let a minute of it pass us by, sort of being in a place of regret. Regret serves no real purpose. Regret is a certain kind of martyrdom, because you can't make a home in regret. If you notice a feeling of regret, well, that's just simply an area where you chose to put that dream up on a shelf for a minute, or maybe you didn't understand the value of it at that time. So I feel like there's something about this too, actually recognizing that these blocks that we call regret, those are seeds of potential, because it's only a regret if you just sort of kind of sit there looking at it and feeling like you don't have the ability to put anything into motion in relation to what that regret's there to teach you. It's there to teach you something that you've been missing, but you see it now. You couldn't see it then. Okay? There's something about this. Maybe getting a visitation from a ghost of regret that has you wondering if you're ready to invest in something now, or invest in something in a different way, right? This energy coming through. There's going to be sudden news that's going to come in too. So you're going to find that a lot shifts when you get communication coming in. And of course, you know, in a Neptunian territory, we can have those moments, those flashes of spiritual insight that are brought through symbolism, much like the experience I had with the ladybug. But there's also like somebody picking up the phone and giving you a call, and you're getting some sudden news, or you catch wind of something comes up on your radar. Maybe you see something online and it lets you know, like, oh, I'm ready to jump on that bandwagon. I like where that's going. That awakens my pioneering spirit. This can be anything that comes onto your path. A letter that, you know, shows up in your mailbox. Something arrives snail mail. And there's something kind of special in that in and of itself too, if you think about that, because that's how we used to keep in touch back in the day. We didn't used to even have access to the World Wide Web. It's a whole different sort of vibe now, you know, and there's something very different about having a face-to-face conversation with somebody, or actually getting on the phone with somebody, or receiving, you know, a letter, a handwritten letter, than something that just sort of gets sent to you in an email, right? Something that gets shot through a text. So there may be like the desire to connect more in this way. Somebody may desire to connect with you in this way. And it's these kind of experiences that are coming through too that are really reminding us of what's meaningful. So do look for like sudden news coming in, hearing a voice that you haven't heard in a long time, or hearing from somebody that you least expected, or getting some kind of news that brings a change into your life that you wouldn't have even thought possible. You didn't even perceive it because you've been so focused on other things, you know, that when this comes in, you actually recognize it as something that does call you to rise. It does give you a certain directive. It does give you certain coordinates that lets you know, this is it, man. This is it. Okay, I'm going to have to invest in this. And a lot of that work may be more quiet, behind the scenes work at first. You know, it can be sort of developing the foundation of communication with somebody, or making plans, or doing the groundwork, you know, taking steps to set something in motion so that when it is time to really fully externalize it, or stand up and represent it, or really share it with the rest of the world, it's got the strength and stability it needs. Okay? It's got the strength and stability it needs. There's also going to be technological disruptions. We've already seen some of that coming through. We saw that come through with Venmo went down. We've had certain systems going down online, and it's sort of a little call to just how fragile those things really are. You know, people think that they can count on technology, and yet it can all vanish very quickly too. All right, so there can be some snafus that come through during this time in relation to those kind of interruptions, things that affect communications, things that affect certain services you use that require the internet, certainly banking, certainly those of you who are into digital currency. I mean, I'm not into digital currency myself. I want to steer clear of it by any means possible. So, you know, I see that there's going to be disruption and that kind of stuff, though. That's the energy here. It does bring about a disruptive influence, but wherever there's disruption, it's sort of giving us an opportunity to look at where we may need to rethink how we invest. It could be how you invest financially. Yeah, you might need to think of a different strategy here. Look at this, Temperance coming in with the Page of Swords in reverse. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. That was curveball. All of a sudden, I didn't have access to my funds for a while there. That really affected my business, or that kind of gave me a call to be a little bit more mindful here about how I manage my resources, okay? So I think this is some of the energy that could be coming in there, trying to think about how you need to handle that in the future. Also looking at things like stocks and bonds and all of this, and really understanding how everything moving into the age of technological advancement can come with its fair share of disruptions, disillusioning experiences, okay? So I think there's a lot of this coming through in relation to just future security that we're going to be looking at here. In relation to these disruptions, yeah, we're really trying to figure out a new way to grow this stability, something that can't be so quickly just erased. That's how it's coming through. And I have to tell you, I've wondered a little bit if some of that that's gone down has been sort of like a testing. 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, check, check, check. Syncopate, syncopate, syncopate. Wait until we really drop the mic on y'all, and I think it was like a little bit of a flex. It's how I kind of perceived it, just when I've tapped into it. But I do tend to look, some would say a little too deeply into things. I'm always looking beneath the surface of things, but I have a lot of Scorpio energy. So, kind of comes with the territory. It comes with the territory, all right? So those are themes that are really affecting all the decanates very strongly during the cycle. But right now I'm going to get into the first decanate and talk about the energy that it ushered in. And it's a little tricky because, I got all my dates written down here. There's a lot to cover. And when I bring the dates in, I'm going to be talking about dates in the past. So it's like we're bringing the past into the future and we're looking at it now through this lens. So we can better understand what we were moving through there and how we can really alchemize it to transform it in a way that refines the energy and achieves the right balance, right? The right balance where we can really move into the new cycle cleanly here. Yes, get our strategy on lock there. Get that strategy on lock. Okay. So first off, the first decanate of Sagittarius starting November 22nd through December 1st, Venus opposite Uranus, okay? This was really introduced November 29th through December 1st. It is a long-standing influence for Sagittarius that has been in place since June and continues to be an influence for all of us through December 2025. It will close out the year, okay? And this is coming in with an Ace of Pentacles, the Sun, and the Knight of Cups. My voice has been going out. I've been doing a lot of talking. So excuse me when I get the fallout there. And we got the strength, you see? We now have the strength, okay, after alchemizing the energy and transmuting the regrets to move forward toward what will give us happiness. Because there's going to be an offer that's presented to us that breathes life back into us after a time where we started to wonder if there is any life left in things yet, right? We see there's like a casting off of the shadow here and this return to a more youthful sort of spirit, feeling invigorated, feeling the vitality of life come in again. So this is why we're working with this energy here. But these awakening moments that are coming in, even though they cause disruption, this is what it's been about. The shakeups are to kind of get us out of our comfort zone. So we can look at those things that have been holding us back, that have been keeping us from having the courage to really open our hearts up again, open up to life again, open up to love again. And because we're effectively doing this work, this is what's giving the opportunity to move into that expansion, into that happiness. We got strong Leo energy here. Before we do arrive on the scene of the Ring of Fire in Aquarius on the 17th of February in 2026, we will have a Leo full moon, and it comes in on February 1st. And I feel like that's what this is really speaking of. The Empress wants to rise early. It makes complete sense. Rise and shine. It makes complete sense because that really relates to the time of Imbolc, the first milk, the first milk, the birth. The birthing of the ewes. Yeah, this is what this is about, okay? So I feel like what we follow through with here in dealing with these awakening moments and how they shift the way we move forward on our path, how they cause us to line up with a new trajectory, it does have us pouring into a sense of purpose in moving forward heart first down a path. And where we feel led here, okay, it ultimately does culminate. Something materializes and we see it. It's no longer cloaked. It's evident. It shows up. We reach that success point where what was hidden by the moon, when we were considering, should I invest in this? Okay. With the start of this cycle, when we first had Mercury go into Sagittarius back on the 29th of October, it comes to its culmination point with that 19 energy signature. That's interesting. 19, 29. It's 10's the difference, right? It's having the understanding of the hermit at the South Node, that Virgoan energy, through looking at the details, sorting through this stuff, to be able to venture in this territory, say, okay, I'm going to take this cup of inspiration and it's going to be the thing that guides me forward. I'm taking this action. The action's already implied with the horse. The horse is that fire energy. It is the horsepower. So this is having the fuel for the fire. There's a sense of purpose, heart alignment. After facing our fears, it gives us the courage, right, to start to head down this road. Even though we don't quite know where we're going to end up, we're getting the ticket, we're going for the ride. And it's really beautiful because it does culminate in a material opportunity. And it's the Stargate. It's the Ring of Fire Stargate in Aquarius there. So this is the journey of transformation that's sort of being put in motion here with this Venus opposite Uranus energy that's been this long-standing sort of transit for the first decanate of Sagittarius. And first decanate is leading the charge, initiating this energy, right? One energy signature, right? So it comes in with the initiatory energy of the magician. And we just moved through the territory of the second decan, which is about the maturation of the mother or the father energy and what's needed to nurture to move this forward. Third decanate energy that we entered into on the 12th and is going to be culminating up until tomorrow and will continue to build light and momentum through the close of the year leading up to that full moon in Cancer. That's when we're letting the energy just go freely and we're carried forward with that momentum. It leads to celebration. There's something we toast here. It's also the culmination of a really deep healing process. But what's difficult about this particular transit that we've been moving through in Sagittarius season is that not only does it awaken that need, to have the freedom that love is an outlaw spirit. Don't fence me in, don't put borders around who I am. Don't put borders around who I'm allowed to love. Don't put borders around what I'm allowed to feel or how I'm allowed to express myself. Don't put borders around me. Don't put borders around me. And I won't put borders around you. And that's where there's been a lot of sort of like clashing of wills, recognizing where we want that freedom, we may have put borders around others. And so there's been this real interesting sort of mirroring energy that's been going on here. In some cases, it's put relationships on really shaky ground, like relationships hanging on by a thread. Now, when we're looking at Venus, of course, this can be romantic relationships, but love connections are also those people who are like our soul family. They're people that are dear friends of ours. They are people we have a deep admiration for, deep respect for, deep sense of connection with, soul recognition with. They can be our family. So this is where you've been experiencing these challenges. Another thing that can come up during this particular time is financial risks. Financial risks that end up biting us in the butt, okay? Because we realized that we weren't considering certain possibilities. For example, the disruption in technology and how that can really shift things overnight in terms of what we've traditionally considered stable, okay, or the responsible thing to do. It starts to really call all those rules into question here, right? Really looking at things in a new way. So with that energy of that long-standing influence of Uranus sextile Neptune, that's also been operating in the first decanate of Sagittarius from July 21st. It peaked on August 28th, and it's culminating on December 30th. That's really helping us take all those themes of everything that came up with all that retrograde energy and really just bring it home to completion, because now we have a comprehensive understanding after going through this sort of mirroring experience and experiencing the shakeups in our foundations, the shakeups in our connections, the falling out with people that we really do want to connect with. Okay, so all of this stuff is giving us a new sense of purpose, and it's motivating us forward on our paths in a new way. And what we want to see is healing. What we want to see is celebration. And there is a sense of sort of rallying together, like really bringing people together for a common cause and investing in this together. So in some cases, this is families going through a deep healing process with each other, or social group going through a deep healing process, or this can even be love relationships that suffered in some way in the relation to a third party element getting into the mix that became a dividing point. It could be another person, but it doesn't always have to be. It can just be that somebody really felt the need to have that individuation. I want to do my own thing. Don't tell me who to be. Don't tell me what to do. You know, some people can really feel fear around commitment. If you have strong Sagittarian placements, you know what this is all about, okay? Do look in your chart. Where do you have Sagittarius? What action do you got going on in your 9th house? Also, check out what's going on in your 3rd house. That's the house of Gemini. Sagittarius is descendant sign, especially when we're looking in terms of relationship. You want to look at the descendant sign. That has everything to do with communications, okay? And communications have really been at the forefront and in the first decanate of Sagittarius. Sagittarius has been hosting in the first decanate Mercury trine Pluto from December 10th through 12th. And what this really brought forward was needing to learn how to communicate in a new way. 47 on the clock, 11. If we're going to come into alignment with each other, if we're going to find a way through this, we need to learn how to communicate differently with each other. It can't be about aggression. It can't be about talking over each other. It can't be just listening, waiting for the moment when we can kind of barge into the conversation and interrupt and insert our point of view so we can achieve our objective here. That's not going to work anymore. And that's what's really been revealed to us at this time. So this is where there was a sense of understanding there needed to be an investment in non-violent communication. Okay? So you may have dealt with some really heated situations. You may have dealt with some verbally violent people, people who bring in very unhealthy styles of communication, gaslighting, belittling, highly critical. I'm not talking constructive criticism. I'm talking about tearing somebody down. Harsh words, saying things out of anger, not allowing yourself to get a perspective to understand what's really coming from a place of feeling hurt, needing to temper that, needing to learn the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting coming from fear, response coming from love. What it really means to listen. Not just listening, waiting for your opportunity to say your piece, but really listening to what the other person is saying, even when it's uncomfortable, and letting them have that space, letting them have that time to articulate what they're feeling, to articulate their experience. and also listening with understanding that whether you agree with it or not, whether you see it that way or not, is irrelevant. It's that person's truth. And you have to allow for that. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but you do have to allow it because it's their truth. And so this is a lot of these negotiations where it's like, well, there's your truth, there's my truth, and then the absolute T truth is somewhere in between, that is that elusive sort of thing, because it divides what is normally considered intractable. Isn't that interesting, the way that came in? That came in a very weird way, but that's how it wanted to introduce itself. It divides. It's like, yeah, we need to open this up, because it's almost like that's what's been keeping the road closed. Like, my truth is my truth, and that's like a point of intractability. And this element comes in, the absolute T truth, the big T truth, that is like that sort of elusive thing. It's a gray area, and that divides that element. It like parts the way. Yeah, it parts the waters. It parts the way so we can kind of get beyond the wash of emotions that can stir everything up and make it murky. And we can actually see a pathway through that emotional territory, through what was once turbulent. That's kind of how it's coming through. It's an interesting way for it to come through, but I'm really like feeling it like that. And it's that energy there that allows us to enter into a place of negotiation. All right? Negotiation, which requires a certain level of mediation and moderation within ourselves. We need to modulate, our reactiveness when we enter into this place of nonviolent communication, if we hope to bring about alignment where something's really been off. All right. And that may mean looking at stuff too that are points of contention, right? So it's especially challenging. This is why it causes us to have to really like turn the fire inward, right? So we can temper ourselves here. This is really what has been coming through at this stage of the game. It's also what's really been building during the second decan of Sagittarius. This need to really change the way that we communicate. And how? By tapping into our energetic sensitivity that's been on the rise. We're better able to read the room, and you might have found that you started doing this a little bit more. You started noticing more of the nuances, the inflection in someone's voice, the way they held your gaze when they communicated to you, or the way they avoided looking in your eyes, what they didn't say, what you were picking up just in the charge of the auric field around the two of you when you were communicating, or even what you were feeling coming into your space that you recognized you were taking in, taking on. This all has been a recalibration point, allowing us to discover a way that we can refine our approach. If seeing somebody was really heated, we started to learn, well, if I just sort of bring more fire, it's sort of like throwing a match into a dry field. Soon we're just going to have scorched earth here. And that's not going to work. That's very destructive. I mean, ultimately it brings growth in the long run. There will be new growth. New growth will resurface, but that's a pretty harsh way to end things. It's a way to end things where there's troubles coming forward on that waterway. We don't want to carry those troubles forward with us. There are ways that you can have controlled burn though, right? And that's also necessary for really making sure the ground is ready to be able to hold what's necessary to support new growth. So there's bringing that sort of burn quality within transmutation. That's controlled burn. this energy coming through and recognizing, okay, if somebody is really like overly heated, I do need to bring in a little bit more of my water. I need to recognize if there's all that, you know, hostility there, this person feels really activated. Either they're not feeling safe, like a lot of fear is coming up for them. They probably feel unsafe because there's a part of them that feels really insecure. You know, so they feel like they have to come on really strong. They have to sort of like puff up the chest and really like sort of, you know, hold their ground. It gives you an indication not to come at them in the same way, not fight fire with fire, but okay, let me yield a little bit. You know, it's just like judo. When the force comes at you, you don't push against it. You give way over to it. That's how you overcome the resistance. Woo, yes, that's how you overcome the resistance. You don't have to move forward, bringing the troubles with you. Okay? This is also the point where you started to recognize that, you know, not all of your process is meant to be shared. You don't need to, you know, spill everything out with everybody. Sometimes the healing process is inner journey. It's an inner momentum. It's something that is very, it's very personal. It's very intimate. And it's important to hold space around that. And we got the King of Wands energy here, right? So here we go. We got that Sagittarian energy on the scene. Oh man, isn't that beautiful? Temperance. That's the bridge. That's the bridge that gets you where you want to go. And look, the Knight of Cups wanted to come forward here. Yep, I'm ready to cross that bridge of temperance. I'm ready to alchemize the energy. I'm ready to balance it out. I'm ready to bring the water in. I'm understanding what it means to give a little, to get a little. I understand that when it gets heated like that, when it's activating like that, I need to bring in the earth. I need to ground out the energy. I need to ground out myself. I need to create time, space for myself so I can reflect. So I don't move forward impetuously. So I don't let certain words fly out of my mouth that I can't take back. So I really allow myself to lean into what I'm feeling and what is coming up in me that's making me want to lash out like that. Right? So a lot of this work, and see, the more that this work has been done, the more that Stone of Destiny has come into view. You may not see it yet because you're not focused on it, but you will when you get your orientation with that full moon in Cancer. And that light is going to start building on the other side of winter solstice too. Okay, so during this process, as you've been integrating this deep stuff and maybe pulling back a little bit, you know, going into hermit mode, you've also had moments of creative catharsis. You poured a lot of it into your creativity. You may have even found that as you dove into these places, it did inspire you. It brought through inspirations, and those inspirations were the light that came through the wound. You may have written some of the best music of your life. You may have been inspired to write a book. You may have allowed yourself to just open up to your creativity for the first time. It also may have just finally made you feel like you had a fresh perspective on your life. Yeah, you achieved some kind of balance here, justice, okay? Libra energy coming in here. Really beautiful, you know, balancing energy. And with Venus on the scene, you know, so strongly during this season, and with that ring of fire coming in on the 17th, that does loop up a cycle. It does loop up a cycle. It completes a cycle that began with the Libra ring of fire on October 2nd. They came in back in October of 2024, right? So this energy is really going through quite a culmination point here. And there is something that is being balanced out in a very beautiful way, even though, you know, it's some tricky territory. I'm not going to deny it. There's some tricky territory we've been moving through here. That energy did start to introduce itself too, just into the very opening of the third decanate of Sagittarius that runs December 12th through the 21st that we're currently in right now. Even though it's finding its greatest expression in the first decanate of Sagittarius, okay? You understand? It's like that's where it's being impacted, but you really have to look at the quality that that first decanate of Sagittarius holds. It's the inception point. It's the nucleation point. So it's the seed of potential. And what you're seeing collectively as you're moving through these decanates of energy is that growth process and how the seed is starting to crack open its hull. Okay, I think the cracking open really does happen with the full moon. I feel like that's when the ripeness really comes to the forefront. That's when the Empress, you know, has that belly that's swelling and is ready to just open up the waterway and give birth to the new energy, the new cycle. Until then, it's like we're crowning. We're about to drop. We're not quite there yet. The light is building, okay? The light is building, and we will get to that point. But there's just a little bit of a delay here, and it is a time of sensitivity. And also, again, more indication like take it easy, take it slow. Don't rush any of this because it's big stuff. It certainly is big stuff that we're moving through. Okay, so in this third decanate here, expressed through the first decanate of Sagittarius, we have Mercury sextile Pluto. This is when we really just got to a point where we have to resolve something. Like we need to crack a case open. We need to resolve a mystery here. We need to understand something that we currently don't understand. So this is when we start investigating. This is when we start super sleuthing. We start digging deeper. We start really researching. We try to peer into what we don't understand here. And this is what allows us to finally be empowered to act on what we discover there. So this energy is still very much operating right now. Will continue to operate through the year. Pay attention to this. And I'm telling you, so much going on in the first decanate of Sagittarius is very much an initiatory energy. It's pretty wild. I haven't seen this with the other decanates of the other signs that we've done this with. It's really strong in Sagittarius though, coming through as this like sort of alchemist energy, the magician transforming, the wizard in the lab, sort of trying out different formulas here. It's got those vibes, okay? It certainly does. And it does have that sort of dynamic duo piece too, because the Sagittarius solar return quest wildcard read came in with that theme of a wizard and apprentice up in the lab all night long, you know, working on something here. And so that is that sort of teaming of energies, star-made energy. But there is something you're trying to get just right. There is something you need to understand though. There's a missing element. There's a missing ingredient. There's a mystery to solve. And there's only one way to really peer into the mystery. And sometimes that does take sacrifice, you know. It takes sacrifice. It also takes risk. You need to have a little daring to go there because it is unknown territory, right? Mercury square Neptune. We know we got a lot of square energy that we're moving through in this territory right now, breaking down the boxes. This one is a little bit of a bummer, I have to say, especially because when we think of New Year's and we think of the festivities, it should be a time when we really could benefit from the Centaurian energy, let down our hair and just kind of kick up our heels, have some fun, really be jovial and high-spirited. But with Mercury square Neptune coming in December 31st through January 1st, We need to be aware that there's a lot of conspiracy out there. There's a lot of cult activity going down. And because of the influence of the sting of Scorpius and the right eye of Draco, the dragon in play, that creates a poisonous aspect here, you do want to make sure that you are tapped into the reality that not all is as it seems. There's a lot of illusory stuff out there. There's a lot of overinflated egos out there. There's megalomania running rampant. There's nefarious plots that are being hatched in the dark. And there's a lot of people just in a place of desperation. So they're acting rashly, and it's creating a dicey environment. If you do choose to go out and party for New Year Eve, I do recommend you be really careful about who you are partying with, and that you're really mindful about what you're taking in, what you're imbibing, because the risk of being slipped something is much higher, okay? The risk coming from the waters, so the spirits, so to speak, alcohol, is much higher, all right? So really be mindful. We bring this in, you know, every year at the holidays. Don't drink and drive, you know. Don't leave your drink unattended. Be aware of your environment. Have situational awareness. It is important. And do understand that there is a lot of heavy energy out there. So you really got to trust your own inner radar. If it feels off, it's off. If it feels sketchy, it's sketchy. If you're not on board with it, you're not on board with it. If you don't want to go out and put yourself in the thick of it, don't. You don't have to. People might have a problem with it, but just respect your own inner calibration on that, okay? And wait, there's more. It's pretty wild because I only have two transits to cover for the third decanate. There were no new transits that were actually going down in the decanate of the second stage of Sagittarius, December 2nd through the 11th. I almost wanted to say second wave. That's why I kind of stopped for a moment there. It is interesting how the waterway is really influencing things at this time with that grand water trine. So Venus trine Neptune, okay? Trines are a nice energy. They are. They're a nice energy. They bring a little bit of sort of a nostalgic flow into the main frame. This is when we can feel sweetness. This is when we can feel tenderness. And this is an energy that's playing out right now and is really gathering momentum at this time. This is when we may really just feel smitten or enamored by something. That word had come out before, feeling enamored. This is when that enamored quality can come in. But it's also when we can be in sort of that poppy field of Neptune, where it's like, sleep. And before we know it, we don't really realize what we signed on for, because we kind of put on the blinders. We had on our rose-colored glasses because it just felt so good, you know? It felt so good in the moment. This is when we can kind of like make promises because of the heat of the moment. Like in the moment, it seemed like a good idea, and it's like, oh God, no, what have I got myself into? I wish I wouldn't have made that promise when, you know, we were having that, you know, after talk, after, you know, connecting and sort of having that moment together, you know. It's when it's one of those things where it's like, I wish I could take that promise back, and recognizing that it was just pillow talk, baby. It was the heat of the moment. Okay, so do be aware of these kind of things. It's also able to play out in the realm of finances as well too, where You might be in a mood to sort of spoil yourself, treat yourself to something, you know, just wanting to indulge a little bit, give back to yourself a little bit, and maybe go a little overboard. Shop therapy can come into play also as a way to sort of like check out, have a moment of instant gratification. But in this climate, it can also bring about buyer's remorse, okay? And finally, Venus sextile Pluto, November 30th through December 3rd, is what came in to ignite our heart fire. It's also the energy signature that is starting to act as a magnetizing force. It's something that's really like amplifying the aura. And that applies, okay? It applies either way. So if you've been like, you know, hiding out, not wanting to look underneath those floorboards and sort of pull out that telltale heart that's trying to get your attention, if you haven't been doing the work, if you haven't been integrating that shadowy material, well, that's going to be very magnetized in your aura too. You'll draw a lot more of that stuff kind of towards you so you can work through that stuff. It does need to be processed at this time. But for most of you, this is really coming through as, you know, you got a little bit of that magic, like the aura is really activated. You have a certain aura around you because you have been actively doing this work that's drawing certain experiences towards you that are creating more opportunities for growth, more opportunities for expansion, more opportunities to move into the heart space. And it is a cool time of discovery, actually, of what is possible. And for some of you, this can be a very significant love partner coming in to your storyline here. There can be instant soul recognition with somebody. There can be a feeling of this is it, like this is the one. It's just that magic moment. It's something that happens very rarely. And when this comes in, this is something that makes you question your alliances, question your loyalties, question your previous investments. And I really want to bring this piece in, okay? Again, I don't feel like this is here yet. There's delay on this, right? But this is what's brewing. It's like the elements are getting in place to make this kind of a connection possible. What some of you may not realize, but will be facilitated through the proper communication as you're learning to communicate in a new way with that energy that was brought in earlier. With some of you, this is recognizing like, I don't need to look anywhere. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm right where I belong. I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot with my partner. And we face a lot of challenges, but we're still here. And we're still working on it. We're working on ourselves. We're holding our peace, even as we're holding space for each other to do that work and allowing that to be okay. And there's something about that too, you know, that I think a lot of people are going to discover the way that really counts for something. That's a foundational strength that a lot of relationships lack because people can get locked into that sort of overly idealistic viewpoint that, oh, it's just supposed to be so magical and it's always going to be this experience of feeling like you're walking on air. No, I mean, that's the initial connection. You get all those pheromones going and it's real hot and yeah, you got that pillow talk and you make all these big promises, but then what happens? It gets real, right? It gets real. And you tend to heal through your relationships and never more deeply than in your romantic love relationships, because that's where you're really going to deeply intimate places. You're really letting somebody all the way in and you're letting them in with such vulnerability. You do recognize that you are completely letting go of control. You're giving this person entry into a space that you are making yourself quite vulnerable. You could get really deeply hurt. There's a lot of power in that. So when you do bump up against those really activating places, and they are things in the past that would make you just want to throw in the towel, and yet you find yourself going, but I can see how this is speaking to what's really been wounded in me. And you know what? I see that place in them too. And you can kind of understand the purpose of what's happening here. Like you understand the psychology behind it. Some of you are going to recognize you're right where you belong. That you've been doing this work. And it can bring a renewal. It can bring a revival. It can bring a different perspective in a relationship. It can bring a different view of each other. You may actually connect more deeply than you ever have before. And that's something that's possible for people as well. For those of you actively working through heavy stuff in relationships. And that's not always going to be the case either. But it is something that's here. There is something that it comes in here. It very much lines with the heart. It very much is that thing that changes your storyline. And whatever this is that has your heart lit on fire. And I have to tell you very strongly, for a lot of you, it is coming through a very significant star mate. Somebody that you are meant to come together with and grow with and evolve with and see the future with. This is pretty powerful, you know, pretty powerful of a message. But for some of you, it can be a cause, a sense of purpose, an aspiration, something that's like your life's work, or a very deep spiritual calling that you feel like, I have to go through this fire. Whatever this is the very thing that completely changes your storyline. It's a key plot twist, and you'll like where it carries you. So there's this beautiful energy that's there, and also this real quality of magnetism. You know, magnetism, being able to draw the right kind of elements, those missing elements through that, you know, that blend, that formula you've been trying to come up with. You are going to draw those things to you because of that aura you're holding there and all the energy that's been accruing there through you just refining, becoming more clear. It's quite a cool energy, actually. Oh, and now it's upright, you see. It will draw those experiences to you. This is really what's going down in the lead up to that ring of fire in Aquarius on the 17th of February. Okay, so I don't want, you know, the second decanate to feel left out, because you've been really just holding the space for all of this energy. For those of you who were born in these decanates, right? You've been holding the space for this. So this lets you know that that's where you're at right now. The energies, they move, you know. So you'll have your turn at some point to really be the one who has all the action astrologically, all those transits going down, you know, in your decanate. But it doesn't mean that you're not in any way being influenced by it. You're feeling it strongly because you're holding it. You're holding it. You've been holding the bulk of it. Like, you've been holding the space for the bulk of it. So you're definitely going through this process, as is everybody in the collective, no matter what your sign is, because we're all moving through this expression in Sagittarius season as we move through these different phases. But third decanate, December 12th through 21st. You got another square transit that came in your Venus square Saturn. Influence felt right now. December 19th through the 22nd. It will be exact on solstice. Okay, so this is where we're really going to be feeling the places where our love, our freedom, that feeling that gives us that sense of expansion. I'm feeling it really is like unfurling. It's coming into this state of blooming, right? This blossoming sort of energy where we're really feeling like we're being held too tight in the bud. And that's not there's not that room to grow. There's not that room to move into that, okay? We're really going to be feeling the challenge of this over these next few days. You might have already been bumping up against this. This is when it's going to be at its height, but we'll start to sort of like dissolve those points of resistance as we continue through this cycle up to the full moon. These are where you're going to see all of your blocks come to the forefront. It was 1:19:44 on the clock. Yep, here's the past coming to show you what has been blocking the light of your sun, your happiness, your success in love and finance, okay? So this is where you're going to be feeling a lot of tension in relation to this. Also, your self-esteem can take some hits right now. This can be really bumping up against your insecurities, recognizing your insecurity is the box. Your fear is the box. Your inability to sort of move through your fears is the only thing that's holding you back. And once you really have enough inner belief in yourself, you'll move through that territory, no problem, okay? You'll get to the other side. This is when you're really coming face to face with all the delays. You're over it. You're exhausted. You don't want to deal with it anymore. You really just are ready for things to be resolved one way or another. You just want things to get moving, okay? Yeah, it can really cause this place of feeling conflicted within yourself. And in terms of your relationships, it can cause fights. Like, are we going to move forward with this or not? Are you invested in me or not? Do you want this or not? You know? And trying to fight to have it your way, okay? This is when there can be a lot of competition going down too, because everybody wants to make sure that their needs are met, you know? And they feel like they don't have enough, okay? So this energy is really at the forefront. And it's also where you're at war with yourself, where you feel like, well, I have to put myself in a box because that's what makes my lover happy, or that's what makes my mother happy, or that's what's going to make my boss happy, but I'm miserable. I'm in a rut. I'm in a rut. And it may as well be a grave because it's just squeezed all the beauty out of my life, right? And you're going to do something with that. You're going to do something with that. You're going to do what you need to do to set this right, because this is a time where we're going to start to see that the only way we're going to be able to resolve these challenges, these blockages, is to pay our debts. Pay our debts. Of course, financially, but also karmically. And financially as well. If you're wanting abundance, you're wanting success, but you expect it to just be handed to you on a silver platter. Wow, the winds are whipping out there. No. There's change coming in, you know. This requires doing the work. Doing the work, you know. You might be in debt because you haven't been doing the work. You haven't been investing enough energy. You haven't been doing what you need to do to really progress your work forward, you know, and what you need to do is you need to pay off that debt by investing your time, energy, okay? So it can come through that way as well. But it's paying your debts mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, karmically, right? It's the only way to work with this energy. It's the only way that you can move through the blocks, move through the limitations, and get to the other side of the conflict. I'm curious, what's behind the conflict? Balancing out inequities. Balancing out inequities. There really is the need to balance out inequities. It can't be lopsided like this, you know. It should be meeting eye to eye, you know. You should feel like there's like a good reciprocal flow in anything that you're dealing with here. But in areas of finance, you know, you may have been putting too much power in somebody else's hands and not doing what you needed to do to sort of generate a new track of abundance for yourself. And I'm not saying that that's something that just materializes overnight, or, oh, work harder, you'll get where you need to go. No, no, no. It's about working smarter. It's about investing in work that really does fulfill you, because that's work that you can do that it also gives you a certain kind of abundance, a certain kind of richness that makes the work worthwhile. It's also very magnetizing, and it draws success to you just because of the nature of the spirit you show up to do the work, okay? So it's a time of balancing things out. This is what's really coming through. You'll see a lot of kind of like financial stuff come to a head, though, to be reviewed. You will be looking at what you need to do to get yourself out of debt, and actively like rolling up your sleeves and getting to work on it, okay? And then we have one final transit, and that is Venus square Neptune, the 22nd through the 25th. It's exact on Christmas Eve. I find it really interesting that all of the holidays this year are like really like when everything is like, it's going down, like right on the holiday. And it's kind of funny with this one, because I think it's just really indicative of what tends to come up around this time of year. This is really coming in the third decanate of Sagittarius, and it's Venus square Neptune. All right, so this is when at the family holiday celebrations, you can run into some trouble. When you're out connecting with people, you can find yourself getting into some difficult exchanges. Why? Because everybody's going to feel on edge. They're going to be taking everything very personally. And it can be just a murky scenario. Mix libations in with that, and things can quickly spiral out of control. It can be a very challenging territory to move through emotionally, especially if you're dealing with people that you have a lot of activation around already. Some people have challenging family dynamics, and that can make things very difficult for them ordinarily. But with a Venus square Neptune, it's amplified. You're really going to be feeling the challenges of that. You're going to feel more of the kind of warring side of Venus there, more of that open enemies quality. And so things could come to a head, especially if you put alcohol in the mix with that poisoning influence that came in, the Neptunian energy there. You get my drift. You can see how this can spiral out of control. Also in terms of relationships, romantic relationships, attractions, especially here in cuffing season. This can be a time when you recognize that you were wearing those rose-colored glasses, that you were ignoring the red flags, and because you weren't willing to look at things as they were, you could experience a romantic rebuff. You could experience a very humbling sort of thud back down to the reality of what's really going on here in love. This also can cause a sense of escapism, you know, wanting to turn devices, wanting to hit the eject button on what you feel, wanting to, you know, totally just get lost in the sauce. And what I really recommend you do instead is just chill the F out, man. If you know you're in that activated space, or if you already know, if I head into the lion's den and I'm already feeling like this as it is, it's going to be like pop off time. It might be better to just say, you know what? I want to just have a nice, quiet holiday. I feel really reflective at this time. I love you guys, but I think I'm just going to like chill out. I'm going to relax. I'm going to maybe order some food in. I'm going to listen to some good music. Maybe I'm going to watch some good movies, and I'm just going to enjoy just letting myself off the hook this season. Some of you may opt to do that. And I think if you opt to do that, you're really going to enjoy your holiday. I have to tell you. Honestly, you know, a lot of it really depends on what challenges you're currently having, you know, how things are in your family right now, how things are with your loved ones, just where you're at emotionally. Some of you will have a completely wonderful time getting together with others, but I would say be on the lookout for this, okay? And this is where that quality of being energetically sensitive, being able to read the room can come in handy, because if you're noticing like, ooh, I can tell that they're not feeling it, or they seem like they're kind of wanting to go and hang out in the other room. They're not wanting to associate with the rest of the family right now. Like, what's going on? Give people their space, you know? If you kind of enter into conversations around the family dinner table and you notice that somebody's getting a little activated, like bring in a little of the water, bring in a little bit of the earth, you know, just chill the energy out, have a little bit of sensitivity, and don't drink and drive, okay? Don't get lost in the sauce. Don't, you know, don't drink your troubles away. I mean, it's fine to enjoy some libations, but if you know that that sends you into a destructive downward spiral, like maybe take a little break from that. Maybe explore a different way, you know, to kind of hold space for what's coming up for you. Maybe let this be a time when you instead create a space to just really deeply nourish yourself. Yeah, maybe move forward in a new way, right? Maybe let yourself just have a day where you just let yourself relax, you pamper yourself. And I mean, if you need to let out the emotions, let yourself let out the emotions, you know, allow yourself to just, you know, sink into a lovely bath, and maybe, you know, allow yourself to have your favorite treat, you know, and enjoy the movies that sort of like lift your spirits. Just let yourself do what you need to do to just show up for yourself and allow yourself to receive your own care, okay? So, you know, it's pretty wild. You know, you got this intensity building with the celebration for New Year's Eve, and then you got, you know, all this action going down right at Christmas time. So we're going to go out with a bang, but some of you may be, you know, choosing a more quiet, calm, sort of intimate celebration. And I think if you do, it's a really good way to work with the energy, because there's challenging dynamics out there. But if you do have to put yourself into the fray, okay, be mindful. Read the room, all right? Read the room. And know when not to push something. And just let it go. Let that be the way you bring in that spirit of good cheer at this time of year, okay? And this will get the new year off on the right foot. I'm going to do a cut of the deck here, see what we got. Yeah, I don't know. I think staying at home in my fortress sounds rather good, Broad. I think I'm going to go with that plan of action and just, yeah, let myself, you know, have whatever I like. I'm just going to let myself have a little personal gratification. I think a lot of you will be doing that. You know, I think there's a lot of people that are paring down the celebrations this year. I think a lot of that is due to sort of the economic state of things as well. People are simplifying. I actually think it's a good thing, you know, getting away from too much focus on materialism. Getting back to just enjoying, you know, connecting with those you love, or, you know, looks like this year, even just connecting with yourself can be quite lovely, all right? So to cap this off, I want to pull from the Infinite Tarot to just really Understand what elements do we need to work with at this time in order to alchemize all this square and opposition energy and the Uranian energy, so that we can really bring forward the fire, the proactive quality of leading the charge of Mars, and the beauty and the love and that sort of sweet taste of life, that nectar of life that wants to come through the Venusian quality and all of this flowering energy that comes with the awakening of Uranus. Wow. And on the bottom of the deck, look what we got there. Well, we need to work with the air to fuel the fire. We need that inspiration, the musing energy. Queen of Sky coming on through, air sign energy, unity. Okay, it's about focusing on the heart. Okay, it's the air that's in the waterway. Okay, that grand water trine got initiated with the air grand trine. Okay, so that energy is still moving through. Right? So clear the air. Practice discernment. Read the room. And allow yourself to just be in that place of knowing, right? Knowing that you can rest on a certain truth. And just staying in that place of unity within yourself, not letting it become divided because of outside stimulus, you know? Let the momentum of movement come from within you. And also, in communications, really bring forward the heart in your communications. Even if you're talking to someone, you know, put your hands on your heart when you talk to somebody. It changes the place that you speak from. It really is true. Also, with the fixed star energy that came in with the new moon, it is a really excellent time for writers. So if you are a writer, you can find a lot of inspiration at this time. Maybe they can even unify aspects of the healing process that you're going through journaling or maybe creative writing, okay? Even just sort of doing a brainstorming session where you just get all that stuff out of your head and you get it on paper so you can kind of look at it objectively. Yeah, you get a different kind of view, an elevated view of it that maybe allows the light to peek through here. That allows you to earth something new, something that will be your treasure, coming in with the 9 of earth energy that you'll find when you get to the top of Star Mountain with that ring of fire. Ooh, yeah, I like it. See, tree in reverse. It's like, okay, you've done enough grounding, you know, you've done enough rooting. Now it's time to carry it up into the branches and tap into the air elemental. So you can bring something down to earth. As above, so below. That's this energy, okay? Drawing down the inspiration. Also understanding you don't need to really make the climb. The climb is a state of mind. You're already at that vista point. You just can't see it yet in material reality, but your inner vision is coming on board. Your inner vision will see it. Okay? You're getting above the cloud cover and you're getting a new view. You know what's interesting is that makes me think of when I went to the top of Mount Tamalpais a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, actually. Many years ago. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. I think it was around 2018. It was a long time ago. Wow. Well, that's that Uranus in Taurus influence there. That's that energy looping back around. I went to the top of Mount Tamalpais. It's in the Bay Area, Marin County specifically. And there's this view up there where it gets so high when the fog rolls in the morning. You get to the top Mount Tam and you feel like you're looking down at the heavens. It looks like heaven. It's like that golden hour and everything's lit up and it's so peaceful. And you're starting to hear the first chirping of the birds and you just see nothing but clouds before you. It's quite a view. So it's got that quality. That's the quality of the kind of view that you got. It's like seeing heaven before it actually roots on earth. Yeah, 8 of sky. It's the creation point. It's the origin point. Breath. Wow. Coming in with water, spirit, water, family. Look, it's the water way of Aquarius, of Eridanus. So this is something being brought down from the heavens to root on earth. The vision awakens within. Again, coming through the sky energy, ether, air energy, sun, moon synergy. Look at that. And there's that brightest star. Ooh, what a message. This really is just such confirmation of everything that is brewing right now. To that initiation point of that ring of fire in Aquarius. I'm so excited to see what we're stepping into when we get there, man. All right, let's see. So it looks like a lot of air coming through pretty strongly. Sky family comes in again. Look at that. Wow. Sky daughter. All those dreams you've set in motion are coming to bloom. Wishes made on dandelion seed heads. You know, dandelions are really good for releasing excess heat from the liver. That's where we store like a lot of anger. It's also a quality that can be connected to resentment, frustration, regrets, you know. So this is like that quality of really releasing that energy. Also, dandelions very, very sacred to fairies. So this is allowing a little bit of that magical whimsy to come in. And with the ladybug medicine that came in, this is also this sort of wish medicine. So there's something about this, something that's already been seeded in the field of multiplicity. And you're seeing it. It's like you're seeing it before it roots. You're seeing the signs of it already coming in. It's a bit like that view at the top of Mount Tan at dawn. That's what I got. It's Dagas. It's the breakthrough moment. Okay, any more details in relation to this? Any more details in relation to this? Yeah, you're seeing it before it comes in. Comes in with solar system. So this makes me think, it makes me think about that Leo full moon on the 1st of February. That's when it's seen externally. Yes, that's when the new road is formed. See, right now, we're sort of like, you see the shark medicine here? We're like, we got to keep it moving. Some of us are a little bit in survival mode here. There's some wake-up calls coming in from the swell of the Grand Water Trine and all that pent-up fire that's been held back for so long. Well, it's soon going to come up and out. And when it merges with the water, it forms the heart fire. And that molten lava, it comes in contact with that sea of creation. And it forms new topography. It forms new land. It changes the landscape. Changes the way you're moving forward here. And you'll get to the 10 of Earth, the full manifestation of it, by the time we arrive at that Leo full moon on the 1st of February. That's when it's really like lit up. Right now, it's really about what I'm really seeing in the forefront here is look at this, Saturn, right? And we got to go through Capricorn season first. And that Leo new moon, that Leo full moon on the 1st of February is going to be tied to the Capricorn new moon that comes in, I think, on the 18th. Or is it the 17th? It's the 17th or 18th of January. So this is what's really going to start to get set in motion once Capricorn season begins. See, because everything that's sort of being initiated here with the Sagittarian energy that helps us set our sights, once the Capricorn energy comes in, the sea goat is going to be what is the vehicle that carries us forward through that big wave of change here. So there's a lot that's sort of like amplifying here. That swell is continuing to grow, and we're just like surfing that wave. All right, let me do a cut of the deck to cap this off. First, the closure, ending the old cycle, ending a period of deep learning and reflection that was brought on through our time with Pluto and everything we've integrated there, because we're going to enter into the rebirthing process. And yes, we certainly are, with Queen of Fire coming in with Yoni here. Okay, so the time is nigh. All right, the time is nigh. We're getting very close to it here, and you're going to continue to feel this energy amplify. But we know as the expansion comes in, right? It's just like giving birth. It's a symbolic birth. So just as the expansion comes in, the dilation comes in, what happens? The contraction. Okay, this is kind of that energy. So the breath can also be a mirror for that, you know, the inhalation, the exhalation. This is a way to bring about modulation through this process as well. The reciprocal flow, breathing, just breathing deeply, focusing on the breath can be a wonderful meditation point. Yes, stillness, stillness as we move through this stinger of the scorpion, and we see these last reflections of wisdom that want to peer back at us from the void, from our time of staring into the abyss. There's still things to be communicated here that do bring about a certain final awareness that allows the last mask to fall, so we can really see ourselves and our potential more clearly here. Also the possibility for a future that sets in motion that kinetic flow in that ocean of change. And yes, stillness will give you balance. Tend to your nervous system. All right, I'm going to see what magic we need. Where should we focus our alchemy work? And this is the last little bit of information I'm getting for us here. I've definitely been feeling this energy. You can tell my voice is a little raspy. I've been going pretty deep with the downloads. I've been needing a lot of rest after bringing in the downloads. Notice that. I've been wanting to be more quiet. I've been wanting to be more internalized myself. I have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart. I have a Sagittarius moon, natal moon, Sagittarius Neptune. So I'm really feeling this energy. And I also have Sagittarius black moon Lilith. And it's all in the third house of Gemini. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling this energy. And I also have Gemini in Saturn in the 9th house of Sagittarius. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling this energy myself. And it is very necessary to, like, yeah, dive deep, right? And then bring those pearls to the surface, bring those jewels you pluck from the void to the surface. And then allow yourself to, you know, sort of rest, integrate after those deep dives before you go back in, you know. There's a little bit of this. It's like sort of like bob and weave as you ride it out, man, okay? Bob and weave. You can't just stay in the deep end the whole time. You got to allow yourself to surface a little bit, but also know when it's time to rest in the deep too. To rest in the deep. To rest in the void. All right. All right, let's see. Also in my progress chart, my sun and moon right now are currently in Sagittarius. So yeah, a lot of action going down there for me. Black Moon Lilith is continuing to stay in Sagittarius. For a while, it dipped into the house of Scorpio, and I was like, whoo. Yeah, so it's been interesting territory for me. For the most part, I've enjoyed it, but I've also noticed in the past few weeks, sort of doing the last little bit of clearing out the cobwebs, you know, from those little corners, like the detail work has been coming through. Yeah, but it's beautiful, see? Because it's taking us back to the origin. It's taking us back to that place of purity, that place of simplicity. And that's where all of the magic is. And it puts us in touch with that energy of the sun, you know? The sun at the top of Star Mountain, right? That entry point that really culminates with that being highlighted for us with that Leo full moon that comes in the lead up to the Aquarian Ring of Fire. And right now, all we need to do is give ourselves over to the flow, coming in with Passion Flower. Again, another nervine. So a lot of you do need to tend to your nervous system. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a rest when you need to. Allow yourself to retreat a little bit when you need to. It'll give you very necessary foresight. It will also help you weather the changes and give you a little buying time so you don't take any sort of rash measures when really you're just meant to kind of give yourself over to the flow. Okay, so you know, they use the word surrender here. I don't like the word surrender. The etymology of the word is to give up your position, something you value, your rights, anything, through emotional duress. I know people take words all the time and they give them different meaning, but I really believe that the etymology of words is important because it holds the initial seed of intention. And I don't give up anything in relation to emotional duress. I let go. I let go of what brings on emotional duress because it's not in energetic alignment. But there's never this feeling of being forced to release something because I will never hold on to something that tightly if it is giving me that feeling of misalignment. Okay, so there's a little bit of this quality coming in. Where do you need to really release? Where is that block, the very thing that's holding you back from receiving this nourishment and illumination that you need? Look, we got the two owls hanging out here, great horned owl hanging out there. So there's wisdom to guide here. And also there's a little magic here, a little star-made energy coming in there. See, it's still hinted here. But this isn't something you get to direct the flow of. This is all about just when fate and destiny collide. You have to kind of just let that magic happen. And part of the magic is really giving yourself over to the flow and seeing where it carries you. That there is quite a brilliant design to the synchronicities and the signs that are coming in for you now and where they carry you. So yes, there is magic afoot here. It's beautiful. It is coming in with the Chariot energy. And I think this is really speaking to where the waterway is carrying us with that Cancerian full moon on the 3rd of January. Okay. The rest is important, especially as we're experiencing like the shakeups of Uranus. And the reason why it's important is it's really going to help us have the foresight we need. So when it does come time to move into the action of metamorphosis and experiencing the flowering, the unfurling of the path, we're able to move into that territory and get to the other side of the storm, to the true gold that's waiting for us there. We do so with impeccable integrity because we took this time, and it gives us energy for the road ahead. We receive this foresight, how? By finding our balance in the stillness. Okay, skull cap comes out again. And what is the bridge that it carries us to? Lavender. Because there's so much coming in around nervines, right? Y'all, we need nervines. This is what needs to come in. And also give yourself, space to relax and to dream and to rest deeply, not only through getting good quality sleep, but allow yourself to daydream too. Allow yourself to just muse a little bit. There's a lot of creative web weaving connectivity coming in here with the weaver. This is the bridge that we will be crossing. Look at that. It ends the way it began with number 20, judgment coming in. So yes, the priestess energy is just integrating, resting before resurfacing and going through that final portal of information. Portal of information. Oh, it's coming in with Mercury there. Okay. You're about to go through a portal of information. Maybe this energy is introducing itself right now, because when I'm recording this, it's the 20th. Okay, a portal of information that will support us. So these are signposts and synchronicities coming in that will build the bridge to get us where we need to go to weave these dreams into being. Look, there is the harp of Dagda that I brought in the other night too. Ooh, yes. So there are more than one way to subdue the energies that oppose you, right? I might have to bring in a little download around that harp at some point here. I've really been enjoying diving into that. Yeah, there is the armadillo energy there too. So there might need to be a little bit of protection while you do your dream weaving here. I feel like it's protection from intrusion. There is really something coming in here about intimacy, allowing yourself to have this space to tap into your creativity and to take those threads of fate and weave them into the stuff of your destiny. And understand that there's more than one way to subdue the forces that oppose you. You don't have to take rash actions. It can be as simple as bringing the creative energy in, right? Yeah, to let yourself dream in this Neptunian cycle while you're working with that flow of Saturn and Neptune. Allow that flow to really root these dreams into reality. But it does require really calming the nervous system. There's too much activation here. Poppy, another nervine, man. Also poppy, addiction, okay? So it's fine line. Be aware of escapism here. That's something that's important to be mindful of. All right, we already know that poppy is coming in here. So we do have to be very much aware of those sort of qualities here, that right balance of what does it mean to give ourselves space? What does it mean to give ourselves an opportunity to let go, relax? When does it become too isolating? When are we sort of disassociating? When are we moving into escapism through vices, things that dull our senses, things that make us check out instead of getting really deeply engaged with this wave of change that is flowing through our lives, okay? So a nice balance here. That's what that energy of Saturn in Neptune is really helping us sort of figure out here. We'll feel that more coming in with the energy of Capricorn season, all right? Final cut of the deck. Yeah, I love it. It's really beautiful. Again, inner peace coming in with the Gemini energy of the deer. I love that the stag medicine is showing up. Speaking of that North Node, speaking of the energy of the Stone of Destiny, also that solar energy coming in with the new moon. Speaking of that meetup point in February with the Leo full moon on the 1st and the Ring of Fire in Aquarius on the 17th. And that is when the journey begins. It's a real breakthrough moment, but you're getting signposts and synchronicities coming in at this time that's letting you know exactly what's needed for healing, what's really going to fulfill you and give you more than enough to share with others, because what you give comes from such a full place that it nurtures others, it nurtures the growth in others, it nurtures the growth of your life. And this is what opens the road to a brand new journey ahead. Godspeed.